Good morning, Boone County and beyond. It is Sunday, May 17th. I'm your host, Bud Wiry, and you're in the shop. So, we didn't get together last weekend because we had the Mother's Day, and to all you mothers out there, the most appreciation. You guys know that you already had one of the toughest jobs out there. So, much appreciation. And now, since we didn't get together last weekend, I want to cover the 2026 primary, which is what would have been subject of discussion. So, the kind of overview of it, oh man, it was pretty painful. I mean, the click candidates pretty much swept the board, which was expected. I posted about that several times, but you still hate to see it. We had extremely low voter turnout. We only had 17% voter turnout. And these numbers, and I'm going to tell you, then why I was hating to see the click candidates going into the general against the Democrats is because this is going to be the weakest bunch of candidates the Republicans have fielded here because we haven't had any competition. So they've gotten way too used to being able to run, their little insider candidates. But now going into this general election, when it's going to be a time where you got a very energized Democrat. I think I seen somewhere where they said this is the most voter turnout they've had in 20 years. And even though there's nothing really to vote for, I mean, you look at some of these last election numbers. So where Plunkett beat out Tim Byer for the commissioner seat, Plunkett got 3,363 votes. Well, Brennan, Bob Brennan, who is the Democrat candidate, he got 3,438 votes. So, guys, what we're going to see here, and then when you look at these guys' numbers, it's very telling. So I got into some of the other numbers, like from Bruder and Lasley and the Byer Santelli race from 2022. And you guys also got to think. So 2022, there was also almost 10,000 less people in our county. So, but even then, in 2022, Bruder got 6,747 votes in an uncontested race. That's just people donating their vote to you. They didn't have to vote for you, no energy to it, no opposition, and she still got that much. This time in 26, she got 4,368 votes. Significantly less than what it was before. Lasley, the same thing. You got in 22, she got 6,649 votes. And here in 26, she got 4,677. And this is a contested race now where there's more energy. So if you're supporters, I mean, this is really showing some extreme numbers. And even in the Byer Santelli race from 2022, they had a total of 7,245 people that participated in that vote. And now the Byer versus Plunkett race of 26, and this is with 10,000 more people in the county, only got 6,033 total votes. So this is much lower numbers across the board all the way. We're seeing a lot of energy from the Democrat Party. And I think, guys, that the Republicans running insider click candidates into this election it's gonna spell some election defeat. I think that the Democrats have a really good chance going into the general election here in Boone County in these races. I mean, you look at their council race where you had Melton, Williams, and Arnold in a three-way race right there. They got a total of 1,075 primary votes for that. The Democrat candidate in the same area, Javier Morel, got 1,060. So they got 1,075 for them three in a three-way, and Javier Morel was only 15 less, just sitting out there by himself. Didn't nobody had anything really to vote for. They're just volunteering the vote to him. So, guys, I think that this insider Republican, and I'm telling you, and this goes deep within our county Republican Party. I mean, if you look, the shop itself is actually blocked from the Republican Party of Boone County page. I mean, there is a clique of these people inside of here that do not want any part of conservatism and that thing, and they're very happy to be running, these big government candidate sorts. But guys, this is going to come to pass because now that's been working as long as you got nobody to run against, and the Republicans were running all the show. But this is going to be different because now they're actually facing a challenger, which most of these people in Republican politics in Boone County haven't had to worry about. So that's what we're looking at, guys. I think this is a bad move for the local Republican Party to keep pushing this. My candidates didn't do very well in the primary at all. I mean, they got 1,500, a couple thousand votes, but these are people that weren't even out there campaigning. And I told everybody, I told the people connected to them and everything else that as a candidate, a candidate has to give somebody something to vote for, and you have to be out there and you have to be engaging. And if somebody wants to win a race, that's really what it takes. But unfortunately, these other candidates, while they're great people, they're great. They would do a great job. It takes a certain personality to want to get out there and engage all the public. And until these people get to that point where they're gonna start doing that's what that takes to win an election, and that's all there is to it. So going up against the click candidates without having that energy of being out there and really campaigning hard, I mean, this is just kind of what it was going to be. But we're seeing it's more the weakness in the other numbers on the other side that are incredibly telling, and the strength that is coming out of the Democrats locally right now, which I've never in my life really seen them have any sort of functional party here. And now we're seeing they're doing meetups, they're doing events, they're actually starting to push back pretty hard in this area. And as long as our local Republicans are going to give them these insiders and these click candidates that most of conservative base don't really care for either, then this is a new ball game in Boone County, and I think we're getting ready to see something different. So, all right, I'm going to move on from that, and we're going to find out soon enough how that one lands. But I want to talk about some of the things that I've seen in this primary that I found to be extremely bothersome. So, right the night before the election, there was a blast text. I even got this to every registered Republican, and it was kind of coming out bashing Aaron Williams and Tim Byer. And it was talking about a connection, a lawyer, Williams, trying to put in a councilman. They tried to make it look really damning, and this triggered some things with me because it's only a political insider that knows how to connect with people to do a blast text message to all the Republicans in this area. This isn't normal stuff. So there's some insider Republicans that were helping that effort, because that's something just normal Boone County politicians never have gotten really into or whatever. So, and off of that here's the big one, guys. Here's the big one. So we had the Thayer versus Sampson race for Center Township, and Center Township fire has long been on the radar for Lebanon Mayor Matt Gentry to want to take it over and include it in the Lebanon Fire Department. And this has been an ongoing fight. So they ran Thayer in this election, who sits, its city treasurer clerk sits right beside old Matt Gentry in all these meetings. And she was the one running against Sampson. So they had this race set up, and I'm going to tell you this timeline. It's going to show how damning it is. So on April 30th, I posted about how Tanya Thayer sat next to Matt Gentry, quietly as they passed all these resolutions, going to make all this community drink this wastewater, everything else, first toilet to tap system in Indiana. And, here she is sitting quietly by. So I put out that little tidbit. May 1st, the Lebanon Utilities put out an absolute misinformation campaign. They put out a memo that said, we're no longer considering Eagle Creek directly. We're talking about the White River watershed. And yet they put out this piece of misinformation, and it was intentionally made. And the media, whether the media's in on it or they're just dumb, they hook, line, and sinker. They took off, ran with it. I got copies I've posted up. They had countless articles, went everywhere through every media source saying Eagle Creek no longer going to be the dump location of the LEAP center and the metadata center and Eli Lilly and all that stuff. So they put that out and blasted it, and everybody had kept asking for the Lebanon for clarification, because we could see that their wording was funny, and we already know how these people operate. So we were already looking for the catch-22 and the snake in the grass, so to say, and there it was. So they wouldn't correct it, but until after the election, because they took the most contentious issue locally off of the table during the election, while one of their city, insiders is running for this other position. So they took it off the table, refused to clarify. And then on May 6th, a day after the election, the utilities general manager, old Ed there, he comes out and say, oh, I'd like to clarify that, well, we're still considering dumping into the Eagle Creek Reservoir, just not directly, meaning it'd be right outside of the park boundaries, because before they had it actually inside the park boundaries for the thing. So, we're going to dump it just like on the other side of this invisible line. So it's completely different now. But they allowed the fake narrative. They allowed the fake news. They allowed the misinformation to fester and run for 5 days while, everybody was getting this new thing. Oh, everybody take your eyes off the ball. Quit watching. But what's going to happen, guys, is they're going to still come back around. They're going to just dump the water right outside there. And these people are chuckling at how stupid everybody is because they just took the bait. But so I posted up on the shop page there, old Ed, kind of coming clean. And maybe I'll cut the whole video later, because you can actually see one of the other board members saying, oh, I appreciate you finally coming out here and clarifying this, because it had been asked about. You guys have been being asked for days to clarify this directly, and you guys refused. So and that was 100%. I guarantee it was for politics, because you had Tanya Thayer out there running for this position. She was tied to the mayor and the council and all that stuff. So they took the most contentious issue off the table for the election. And to me, guys, from where I'm saying, that looks like election interference to me. If I was old Casey Sampson, I'd be madder than hell. I mean, that is some of that dirty politics that come right from the Gentrys, because we've seen it out of the market red before. We've seen it in other races where they've injected that. That is just their toxic form of politics. And, it just continues to fester in our area. And I was pretty disgusted by that. So, I really think I'm going to end it on that as far as the local election. But that was disgusting right there, to see them actually try to tilt the scales that much by actually putting out a memo, yanking the community with all this misinformation, and then actually trying to tilt the scales right there and failing to correct it until after the election. That is damning, is what that is. So, all right, moving on from there. The data center and water wars are just continue to just scream right along here, because look who's entered this game here lately. So, Erin Brockovich, the famous movie, everything else. Well, she has actually developed a portal for people to start reporting the data center and the community abuses and concerns with what they have going on there, because everybody's already seeing what's coming. You're seeing things like, oh, they're going to dump all this wastewater into everybody's drinking water supply. Oh, they're going to do this. Oh, down there in Georgia, they pumped, 30 million gallon a day or whatever it was out from underneath the community, ran them dry. I mean, this is every day this stuff is coming up in the news. And we're looking at a time now, guys, where 7 in 10 people are against the data center coming to their community, because everybody is catching on with the damage and the harm that they're doing to people, and that they don't really care. They put on this horse and pony show and talk about all the good things they're going to do, but really they're just throwing peanuts out there. Somebody was telling me about Eli Lilly, because I put out, Eli Lilly's the same thing. And you know what Eli Lilly also is, guys? Let's just be real. That's Boone County, Indiana's second data center is what Eli Lilly's going to be, because that's why Eli Lilly wanted to talk and get that nuclear agreement with Braun and all that other stuff, is because they also want in the data center game. They want their own data center. So when everybody's talking about Boone County, we got one metadata center. We actually got two, because I guarantee that's what Lilly is pretty much. They said it. They want all this extra energy because they want to be able to do the computer calculations and all this other stuff, and that is a data center. So Boone County actually has 2 data centers in progress, and that's how that's shaken out. But let's look at some of the side effects that we have going on from these things. It's like Indiana right now leads the nation in foreclosures. It's up 26% from last year. And let's look at what's happening. Basically, and this is a big part of what's pushing people out, is the people are now competing with corporations and the government for for private property, and this is pushing the price of all that property up. And then they're reappraising everybody's homes and property up much higher, and then people are being literally taxed out of your home. I mean, they can say that, oh, now your house is worth half a million, now your house is worth a million, and then it costs, say, at $1 million, 1% tax rate. That's saying it costs $10,000 a year just to be able to keep your house that you already paid for. And the blunt realities keep hitting community after community because, just like I said, oh, you got these property rate, these property taxes are coming in so high because now home values are up because people are competing with corporations and the government for private property. And then you have stories like the operators union, the local 841, put out that they're scrubbing union labor. They're bringing in labor from out of state and other places to come and work on these projects. All these unions were talked into supporting all of the stuff that's happening. And then you look at what happened. Once the project's overway, once the approvals have been signed, then they're doing what they want anyway. And we've seen it. Initially they said they were only going to, work at certain hours with the lights over there in Meta. Now, what do you see? They're going all around the clock. And because this community just gets steamrolled by these people, and they're in control now, and they pretty much know it. And expect for it to rapidly keep progressing because I think all these data centers and stuff, I think they got the hammer down so hard right now because I think they know that everybody's catching on to the harms that they're going to do, and they're going to get to a point where it's going to be even harder and harder to get these areas to approve. But I mean, you look out there, and it's amazing that it's not more in the, in your face kind of news. But you can look out the mainstream media over there, and the Colorado River is literally tapped. It has not enough water to feed all the communities down through there, and it goes through the Hoover Dam, makes a bunch of electricity. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that this river does, and these people, I mean, it's being debated. The government's getting ready to decide who's going to be the winners and the losers and getting this water. And see, that gets to a terrifying spot because when they're starting to talk about the government's going to pick the winners and losers when it comes to the water, who are they going to pick to be the winners? Is going to be the same politically connected people, insiders, that they pick to be the winners with everything else. And guys, now we're talking about water. I mean, this is a life-giving thing. This isn't something that you can live without. This isn't something I'll just go get it elsewhere. But if all of these big corporations and governments are monopolizing this water and making it to where all the people are actually having to consume their own wastewater, kind of like what they're doing to Lebanon and around this area over here, where if they dump all of this wastewater in the Eagle Creek Reservoir, and then the Eagle Creek Reservoir supplies all these communities with water, then that's basically what you're doing. I mean, you're just going right, and that's what they're pushing it to. So when the government and these corporations are controlling the water supplies, then they're able to make these deals and push people into things that people normally wouldn't be comfortable with. That's what they're going to do. So if you look at all what they're doing, they're going to make it to where all these communities have a water crisis, and then everybody will be more receptive to the solution, which will be all these different communities having to drink their own wastewater, which these communities weren't previously doing. Even over there in Indianapolis, I mean, citizens dumped wastewater downstream on White River, and they intake the water from upstream. So even while those sources are already got a lot of garbage in them and a lot of stuff from other places and different things, the people of Indianapolis and them surrounding areas weren't drinking their own wastewater right into the same puddle. They didn't have it set up like that. So this is going to be more you know, everybody throughout the Indianapolis and surrounding areas, their percentage of that, the stuff that goes along with it, going to be incredibly up. And I have the argument all the time with people, and they're sitting there going, "Well, the waste treatment plants and the water treatment," and for those that have been following along with this for a long time, we've already talked about it. Waste treatment and water treatment plants test for 90 plus chemicals, guys. 90 to 120 general, put them in that range. And there are literally 20,000 PFAS and pharmaceutical compounds alone. I mean, these are huge amount of numbers of stuff that are going through there that they have no idea it's there. And they're just going to tell you it's safe because it passes this 90 to 120 chemical span. And the government regulates 90. And those are 90 chemicals from the 70s. These are lead, zinc, and arsenic, or whatever that stuff is. It was all just your basic older long-term chemicals, not none of the synthetic new stuff that's out there. And these plants, guys, and that's even why I try to tell people, they're like, well, it's treated. I'm like, dude, treatment is not the same thing as purification. Yeah, I mean, people ought to get a dictionary and actually look this stuff up, because treatment is people are doing a little something to it to make it better. That's what treatment is. It is not purification. You're not removing a lot of this stuff. We've gone over this, the studies and the stats and how poorly the actual numbers, percentage, they're just not good at getting out pharmaceutical and these other chemicals. And now we're putting a 10,000 acre government, controlled development over here outside of Lebanon that has LEAP and data centers, and has the Eli Lilly, big pharmaceutical company in Indiana, are all going to be dumping into everybody. And that's why you get stuff like Aaron Brockovich start poking around with data centers, because a lot of these different sites, if you follow along with them, people are having the same problems across the country. It's not just us going, really, they're going to do all this? They're going to allow all that? This same stuff is happening in other places. I've seen places that, the data centers got found to have hidden wells, and they would dried up the community. And then we've seen, this stuff keeps happening in different places. So that's why it's coming to a head. Public perception is horrible. 7 in 10 people don't want it, like I said. And that is why they're also full steam ahead to try to get every last dumb community they can and every last sellout politician. I seen somewhere, what was it, Hobart, Indiana last week? They actually drug a guy out. They had the police. There was a citizen, didn't want a data center, and he was protesting it up there at the meeting, and they drug this man out. They had the cops drag him out, and they actually started kind of freaking shoving him around. And this is the thing. And you got a packed house somewhere else in Indiana. Every community member was out there. Against the media couldn't even hardly get in, standing room only. And everybody out, and they approved it anyway. So it's because it only takes these big giant corporations. They only have to buy 5 people, 5, 7 people. How big's your board? That's where it's at. They only got to get them people. So even though the whole community is out there fighting against them, saying, hey, guys, stop, please stop. Don't do this to our community. Don't do this to our water. Don't do this to our children. Don't do this stuff. And they go out and they do it anyway, time after time after time, because small amounts of people are all it takes to make these big decisions. And, they're corrupt. They have corrupt hearts. They don't care who they hurt. You look at that right here locally, they're talking about 65 natural gas generators that are going to have to have an IDEM, permit, because they're going to have so much pollution, and the wind blows right into Lebanon from there. So how are you helping your citizens? Like, none of this stuff. Actually, I mean, 90 some decibels from them same generators. Tell me how is that helping the people of this community? No, but what does matter is that Meta's going to write the city of Lebanon a $1.5 million check, and it's not going to have a lot of strings on it. So that money can go to all their little wants and their little this and that. But at what cost? See, some are sold so easily. And I mean, some of these people, probably a good steak dinner, and they're in your pocket. They're your buddy. But we see it time and time again. And there's never, anytime that you see these people voting for stuff that absolutely, and there's never, I go to these meetings and I kind of quit going. I just watch them from the shop now because I get so agitated at some of them. Because when you're watching it, it's like these people have come out. There's people that are standing against it. and then they go right against them. Where are the people that want to support this stuff? Where is the, pro data center, pro development? Where is that crowd coming out and trying to cheer that stuff? They're not there. But there are people that come out and say, "Hey, don't do this to my home. Don't do this to my community." And they go against what they want every time. And that's been keeping on for a while, but that tide is going to shift. That pendulum is going to swing. And, going into the last part of the show, guys, I really want to emphasize that part. And the people that aren't paying attention for it are going to get hit. They're going to get hit with that pendulum. That's just what I was saying about, these local Republicans not catching on to that and understanding where the angst is. And, they keep thinking these establishment, pro economic development, candidates are going to win them, the race, but that's not, because sentiment for this stuff is changing. And that's why when we're looking right now, that's why you see that 7 in 10 people don't want this stuff coming in there. That's a communities that are becoming aware. And I'm seeing it, the shop growth. It's growing so fast because people care about these topics. And it's really hard to find a clean take out there on them because everybody wants to get in on the money. And when greed's taking over our society, guys, it's not going to end well for us. We don't want to have our water controlled by all these giant corporations. We don't want all the people to be pushed on to drinking this wastewater. And we can change it. It is still a fight. It is still 100% on. We are growing more rapidly, guys. It is mind-blowing. In all my years, I have never seen communities connected the way that they are now, because all of these different communities are developing these groups to start pushing against all this different stuff. And guys, all these different groups are talking entwined in all of this. People are sharing each other's stuff. So when one community is having the problem with it, it's getting shared and it's getting blasted. You people out there are sharing it, sending information, sending pictures of what's going on, sending all the details, and everybody gets to see that. So when you help, put something out about your community, you're also helping the other community, and you're giving the new community that is fighting this same fight, you're giving them the stuff to look for so that they can see it. I got some things that I'm working on right now because as we go, that's going to be a big part of it. I mean, you got to help the next guy down the road. And, so Boone County right now, we got a couple being built. There's 6 phases to meta. Maybe can you stop them at one phase? Can you hold back this sum by putting all the pressure to it and showing everybody what's going? Maybe, that's still on the table. But we still, we have to help the other guys down the road. We have to help because right now, like I said, the community is connected on these things. And all of us Hoosiers are working to the preservation of something that means a lot to us. And this is our home. So with that, guys, have a great rest of your week. See you next week.